Have you ever found yourself waiting by the phone, hoping someone will call, even just to say hello? Or maybe you've spent a day feeling invisible, like no one notices you unless you reach out first. If you've ever sat in silence, wondering why the people you love don't seem to have time for you anymore, let me just say, you are not alone, and you are certainly not forgotten. There comes a point, especially after 65, when the world seems to slow down around us. But the ache of being left out, left behind, or simply left waiting, that doesn't slow down at all. In fact, it can feel even heavier with time. You might find yourself reaching out more often, sending messages that go unanswered, or making visits that feel one-sided. You may wonder, am I too much or not enough? But let me assure you right now, the answer is neither. The truth is far simpler and far more powerful. You were never meant to chase anyone for love or attention in the first place. This isn't about pride, it's about peace. It's about protecting your dignity and rediscovering the quiet strength that comes from choosing yourself, your happiness, your energy, your worth, over someone else's approval. In today's video, we're going to talk about why chasing love after 65 is not only exhausting, but unnecessary. And more importantly, I'll share with you some powerful ways to shift your focus, not to get them back or make someone miss you, but to make sure you never miss out on you again. Let's start by talking about where this need to chase even comes from. You see, many of us were raised in a time when love meant effort. We were taught to try harder, call again, forgive quickly, sacrifice endlessly. And while effort is a beautiful thing in relationships, it becomes a problem when it's one-sided. When you're the only one calling, the only one visiting, the only one trying, that's no longer love. That's imbalance. And over time, imbalance turns into resentment. It sneaks up on you, doesn't it? One day you're baking cookies hoping your daughter will stop by. Another, you're waiting on the porch just to catch a glimpse of your grandchildren. And little by little, the joy you used to feel in giving starts turning into hurt. Giving stops being fulfilling and starts feeling like begging. And here's something I want you to remember. You should never have to beg for love, not from your family, not from your friends, not from anyone. After 65, your time is more valuable than ever. Your energy, it's sacred. And your heart, it's been through enough to know the difference between being appreciated and being tolerated. The first thing I want to encourage you to do, and I know it's not easy, is to stop initiating when you're always the only one initiating. You've probably heard the saying, if someone misses you, they'll reach out. If they don't, they're teaching you what matters to them. I know it stings, but that's the lesson. Pull back just a little and see who comes closer. Silence isn't passive, it's powerful. When you stop chasing, you create space, and that space will reveal who truly values you and who only shows up when it's convenient. Now, I'm not saying cut everyone off. I'm not saying become cold or bitter. Quite the opposite. I'm saying create emotional boundaries so your love flows to the right places. Because when you keep pouring yourself into people who don't pour anything back, you're left empty. And they're still thirsty. Instead of chasing others, start reinvesting in the most important relationship of all, the one you have with yourself. Think about it. When was the last time you made yourself the priority? Not because you had to, but because you wanted to. Maybe it's taking yourself out for coffee. Maybe it's finally starting that painting class you always dreamed of. Or maybe it's something as simple as sitting in your garden, doing nothing but letting the sun touch your face without worrying who forgot to call today. You see, when you stop chasing love outside of you, you start creating love within you. That self-generated warmth, that peace. It's something no one can give you and no one can take away. And here's what's beautiful. When you start showing up for yourself that way, something shifts. You walk a little taller. You smile more. Not because someone texted back, but because you finally learned how to be enough for your own joy. And funny enough, that's often when people start noticing. Not because you chased them, but because you stopped. There's an inner power that grows when you stop waiting for others to give you what you've had all along. Attention, affection, approval. Those aren't gifts. They're reflections. And when you reflect those things inward first, others begin to mirror them back. It may feel scary at first, pulling back, setting boundaries, not answering every call or text immediately just to prove you're still easy to reach. But I promise you, what lies on the other side of that fear is freedom. So the next time you feel like chasing someone, stop and ask yourself, is this love or is this a habit? Am I connecting or am I convincing? Because you should never have to convince anyone to love you, not at this age, not after everything you've given, not ever. And if you're thinking, but what if no one comes back? Let me tell you this, sometimes silence is the loudest answer. And when people don't come back, they're making room for someone or something better to enter. That better might not always be a person. It might be a part of you that you forgot existed. The joyful part, the creative part, the peaceful part that doesn't need a crowd to feel complete. So breathe, let go of chasing, and let yourself receive something greater. Dignity, clarity, and the calm that comes from not needing to prove your worth. Let's take a moment together and really reflect. How much of your energy over the years has been spent trying to hold on to people, trying to keep a connection alive, trying to stay relevant in someone else's world, even if it meant fading out of your own? It's not something we talk about often, but for many of us, especially after 65, there's this quiet fear. The fear that if we don't keep showing up for others, they might forget we exist. But here's the truth. Your presence doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to chase to be cherished. You don't need to constantly give to be valued. Sometimes, the most respected person in the room is the one who speaks the least, smiles the softest, and knows how to walk away with grace. And that leads us into something important, learning how to recognize your emotional limits. Because the habit of chasing doesn't start with others. It starts within us, with a belief that we have to earn love, that we're only worthy if we keep giving, calling, proving, pleasing. But that belief, it's outdated. It's been passed down, shaped by generations, and fueled by a time when self-sacrifice was expected, especially from those of us who were mothers, fathers, caregivers, providers. It's time to unlearn it. The second thing I want to share with you is this. Start noticing where your energy goes and ask yourself if it's being respected there. Think about that friend who never calls unless she needs something, or that son who only visits when it's convenient and spends the whole time scrolling through his phone, or the neighbor who always wants your company but never really listens when you talk. These may be small things, but over time, they chip away at your spirit. You don't have to confront or criticize anyone. This isn't about creating conflict, it's about creating clarity. When you begin to protect your energy, something incredible happens. You stop being drained by people who take more than they give. You might even start saying no. No, I'm not available today. No, I won't rearrange my schedule just to make it easier for someone else. No, I'm not going to keep calling someone who never calls back. These aren't acts of cruelty. They're acts of self-care, and self-care is not selfish. It's necessary, because the older we get, the more sacred our time becomes. Every hour spent on people who don't see your worth is an hour you could have spent nurturing your own joy. And joy, my friend, is worth fighting for. That brings us to something else that's often overlooked: reconnecting with your own voice. You've spent so much of your life listening to others, worrying about others, adjusting yourself for the comfort of others. But how often do you listen to you? What do you want to do this weekend? What brings you peace? What makes you feel alive? Too many people lose their identity as they age, especially when children grow up, friends move on, or partners pass away. It's easy to start shrinking, thinking your best days are behind you. But listen to me, they're not. The most beautiful thing about this chapter of life is that you finally get to ask, what do I really want? And here's the best part. You don't have to answer to anyone but yourself. Maybe it's time to explore that quiet passion you put aside for decades. Write that story, learn that song, take those walks, decorate your home the way you always wanted, reclaim your space, your time, your preferences. Not to impress anyone, but simply because they matter to you. And if your first thought is, but who would care? I want to gently remind you that you are enough reason. You are worth creating for. You are worth enjoying life for. You are worth every ounce of energy you pour into yourself. That's the heart of it all. Shifting your focus from external validation to internal peace. Instead of asking, why haven't they reached out? Try asking, how can I show up for myself today? Instead of worrying, did I say something wrong? Try wondering, have I been kind to myself lately? Because you are no longer required to explain your worth. You just need to live it. And here's something many people forget. When you stop chasing, you become magnetic. Not in the way of seeking attention, but in the way people start noticing your calm, your presence, your quiet confidence. People are drawn to that. It's attractive because it's rare. When you're no longer trying to prove anything to anyone, people feel that. You become a mirror, showing others how to treat you. And that treatment begins with how you treat yourself. Do you make time for rest? Do you speak kindly to yourself? Do you allow yourself to enjoy simple pleasures without guilt? It's the little things, truly. Lighting a candle before bed, putting on clothes that make you feel good, even if no one's watching, playing music that makes your soul dance. These are the daily choices that whisper to the world, I matter, I am enough, I am not chasing, I am choosing. And that shift, it doesn't require anyone else's permission. It only needs yours. So if today you feel a little forgotten, a little overlooked, know that you don't have to chase to be loved. You simply have to return home to yourself. Take your attention back from people who don't see you and give it, fully and generously, to the one person who's never left your side, you. There's something quietly transformative that happens when you stop chasing others and start choosing yourself. It's not always loud. It's not always dramatic. Often it's just this gentle shift. The moment you sit with yourself and realize, I don't have to try so hard anymore. You don't have to fix every relationship. You don't have to explain why you feel the way you do. You don't have to stretch yourself thin just to keep someone from walking away. Because here's the truth. People who truly love you don't need to be chased. They stay. They call. They care. Not because you remind them to, but because they want to. And when they don't, you begin to understand something you maybe didn't always believe before. You can be whole without them. That's not bitterness. That's clarity. That's growth. Now let's talk about something many of us never had the chance to learn earlier in life: emotional boundaries. We were raised to be helpful, to show up, to be there for others. And while those values are beautiful, they can also blur the line between love and self-neglect. It's one thing to support someone. It's another to sacrifice your peace for their convenience. So how do we draw those lines, especially after a lifetime of being the one who always says yes? It starts with one very powerful word: no. No, I can't drop everything to help right now. No, I won't allow someone to speak to me with disrespect, not even family. No, I'm not available just because I'm retired or home more often. Saying no doesn't make you unkind. It makes you clear. It reminds others that your time, your attention, your love, these are gifts, not obligations. And when you protect those gifts, something amazing happens. you start attracting people who value you as you are, not for what you do. Think of it this way. When you stop overextending yourself just to be included, the invitations that still come are the ones that matter. When you stop checking your phone, hoping someone will reach out, the messages that still show up feel more genuine. You no longer chase scraps of attention. You begin to receive real presence. But here's something important I want you to hear. Letting go of chasing doesn't mean giving up on connection. It means building it differently. So many seniors feel lonely, not because they're isolated, but because they're emotionally exhausted from trying to keep relationships alive that aren't mutual. The answer isn't to stop loving. It's to start loving smarter. That means putting your energy into places where it grows, into conversations that feel nourishing, into people who show up consistently, into activities that light you up. This could be as simple as joining a local book club or walking group, or reconnecting with a cousin who always made you laugh, but you lost touch along the way, or volunteering your time in a place where people are genuinely grateful for your wisdom and warmth. When you shift your attention from getting love to giving love where it's appreciated, the whole world begins to open up in front of you. And don't forget, connection isn't always about people. Sometimes the strongest connection you'll feel is with your peace. That moment you wake up without any plans and realize the day is yours. You can read, walk, dance, nap, garden, without having to ask anyone for permission or approval. That kind of freedom is priceless. And it's something that often only reveals itself when you stop chasing. Now I know some days will still feel heavy. There will be memories that tug at your heart, pictures that make your chest ache, days when the silence feels too loud. It's okay to miss people. It's okay to wish things had turned out differently with your children, your siblings, or friends you no longer speak to. You're human. You've loved deeply. And loss, whether emotional or physical, always leaves a mark. But what you do with that mark, that's what defines the rest of your life. You can choose to let it weigh you down, or you can choose to let it soften you, not into weakness, but into wisdom. Because every time you feel alone, that's also a moment to remember you've survived. Every disappointment, every unanswered call, every moment you felt invisible. And still, here you are, standing, breathing, becoming. There's no expiration date on joy. There's no age limit on rediscovery. Just because you've been the one chasing for years doesn't mean you can't stop today. Let today be the day you pause, you breathe, you listen inward instead of outward. You stop asking, who will love me, and start asking, how can I love myself more fully? And here's something else. When you love yourself that way, fully, gently, unapologetically, you become a safe place, not just for others, but for you. You stop second-guessing your worth. You stop shrinking to fit inside relationships that were never meant to hold your whole heart. You start walking with your head high, not because someone validated you, but because you finally validated yourself. That's the gift. That's the reward for letting go of the chase. So the next time you feel like reaching out just to be seen, pause. Ask yourself, is this connection life-giving or just familiar? Sometimes we chase, not because something is good for us, but simply because it's what we've always done. And breaking that habit, that takes real strength. But you have that strength. You've carried families. You've survived heartbreak. You've built homes, raised children, buried friends, and still found reasons to smile. If anyone knows how to adapt, it's you. So don't be afraid to rewrite your story. From this moment forward, let your love be a choice, not a chase. Let your attention be a gift, not a giveaway. Let your peace be the priority. And if no one's told you today, you are not forgotten. You are not too much. You are not too late. You are exactly where you're meant to be. And what you choose next is entirely in your hands. By the time we reach this stage in life, we've lived through enough to know that not everyone who starts the journey with us stays until the end. Some people drift, some disappear, some only show up when it suits them. And while that reality can feel heavy, it can also set you free. Because once you accept that you are no longer responsible for keeping people close who don't want to stay, your whole world begins to shift. You stop tying your worth to who reaches out, who visits, who remembers your birthday. Instead, you start measuring your days by peace, by purpose, by how true you are to yourself. It's not about cutting people out. It's about cutting the cord that ties your happiness to their behavior. One of the most empowering things you can do after 65, after all you've given, all you've endured, is to release the belief that you must earn love. You don't. You never did. You were always worthy of love simply by existing, by breathing, by being here. It's time to let that truth settle deep in your heart. You may have people in your life right now who love you dearly. They just don't show it in the ways you need. And you may have people who don't see you at all. And that's their loss, not yours. Your job is not to chase them into seeing your value. Your job is to see it yourself every single day. That starts with how you speak to yourself. Pay attention to the words you use inside your mind. Are they gentle or judgmental? Are they forgiving or full of blame? Imagine speaking to a dear friend, someone you love unconditionally. Would you tell them, "You're not enough, you should have tried harder," or "You're not lovable anymore"? Of course not. So why say that to yourself? You deserve your own kindness. You deserve mornings where you look in the mirror and say, "You've done well. You've grown. You've made it this far." You deserve quiet evenings with a book in your hand and peace in your heart, not because everything is perfect, but because you finally stopped fighting for things and people that don't fight for you. And here's the beautiful irony. When you let go of chasing love, you become open to receiving it in unexpected places. Maybe it's a neighbor who starts bringing you vegetables from their garden. Maybe it's a grandchild who suddenly opens up about their life. Maybe it's a stranger who smiles at you during your morning walk and you realize connection is still possible. Warmth is still out there. But it doesn't need to be chased. It comes when you're not busy chasing others away by chasing them too hard. You also begin to feel love in new ways. You see it in a sunrise that reminds you you're still here. You feel it in music that makes you sway in your kitchen. You find it in laughter, the kind that comes from your belly, the kind that catches you by surprise. This kind of love, it's everywhere. It's quiet, it's constant. It doesn't ghost you. It doesn't forget your name. It lives within you, and no one can take it. And that, perhaps, is the final message. You are not alone, even when you're alone. Because when you stop chasing people who make you feel invisible, you begin to see yourself more clearly than ever. You begin to notice how deeply you love, how much you've grown, how strong you really are. And when you love yourself that fully, others can feel it. They notice. Some may be drawn to you again, not because you chased, but because you changed. Whether they come back or not doesn't matter as much as it once did, because you're no longer waiting, you're living. Living means laughing without asking permission. It means going to that little cafe down the street even if you're sitting by yourself. It means putting on your favorite outfit for no reason other than it makes you feel good. It means giving your time and attention to people and places that refill your spirit. And if you find yourself sitting in silence sometimes, don't be afraid of it. That silence can be your sanctuary. It can be the place where you come home to yourself. You don't need noise or applause or validation to matter. You already do. You matter because you've lived through things that would break others. You matter because you've shown love even when it wasn't returned. You matter because you're still learning, still growing, still open to living better. Even now, especially now. So if today is a quiet day, let it be peaceful. If today is a lonely day, let it be gentle. And if today is the day you finally stop chasing others for their love, let it be the day you start showing up fully for yourself. Because no matter your age, you are allowed to stop trying so hard. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to be loved without running after it. You are allowed to choose peace over performance, dignity over desperation. And if no one's told you yet, I'm proud of you. Not just for listening today, but for all the ways you've kept going, all the ways you've held your heart together, all the ways you're learning to live for you. So please, if this spoke to you, if even a piece of it felt like it was written just for you, take a moment and leave a comment. Share your thoughts, your stories, your voice. This space is yours too. And if you found comfort here, consider subscribing, because you deserve to have content that speaks to your journey, one that honors your wisdom, your value, your truth. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing peace. Thank you for remembering your worth. Here's to living your best life, not when others show up for you, but when you show up for yourself, at any age, and especially now.